Ah, wonderful. We're on the air. We're broadcasting to the world from Edgbaston in the UK. And I have the pleasure of starting off the second half of this 24-hour conference, because this is session number 13. But it's not going to be unlucky.
So unlucky 13, yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be fine. So thank you so much for joining us. Tell us about the weather that you're having well, tell us where you are in Germany, just to start off.
I'm located in Dresden. Actually, I'm in my home office, and today we have more than 30 degrees Celsius out there, so I'm not sure if I'm sweating from being nervous or from the heat outside.
Yeah, and I think many people will be aware of the very extensive flooding that you've had in Germany recently, particularly in your area. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, here in Dresden and Saxony, it looks better at the moment, but in Saxony-Anhalt, there are big floodings, 200 square kilometers of flooded there. And so it's a big issue actually here.
Yeah, no, that's serious stuff. But you seem to be, I think, looking at the background, you seem to be on the top floor of your house, I guess.
I'm on the top floor and on a hill.
Yeah, right. So I reckon, TFT13 is safe for the next hour.
Sure.
Right. Okay. Well, with that, I'd like to hand over control to you. So I'll be muting myself.
Okay.
For the next 30 or 40 minutes, and then we'll have a little chat after your presentation on business service management.
Thank you, Mark. Here we go. I listened carefully to Ray's talk before my own talk, and what I've heard is very interesting. And I want to tell you something about the second step of ITSM Godness. It's how to build, how to define really business consumer-focused services with IT. I'm not using such fancy words, but I read a couple of years ago Business Service Management from Forrester, and I will tell you why to do and how to do business services. And afterwards, I will give you a little view on a sample tool implementation on what you can really reach with these philosophy, of course. So let's start. And what I see in my daily consulting business is a lot of information are flooding to the IT organizations. It doesn't matter if these are the technical messages from all the servers, from all the software we are using today, or if this is the information from the users who calling the service desk and complaining printing is not working or whatever at that point. And what we do is we collect all this information in monitoring systems. We prioritize these messages, and we use service desk systems to consolidate all the messages from the service. And what's going on here is a lot of misunderstandings, as Ray told you before. The misunderstandings are coming from mainly the different languages of both the users and the IT department. And what business service want to do is to give you from all these informations you're collecting all the day, a little bit knowledge to tell you how it has happened. And at the end of the talk, I will show you a little bit wisdom and how you can gain wisdom out of all these informations. And well, how to produce knowledge in this point. We're using monitoring systems, we're using service desk systems, documentation and whatever. So we can use all these information flooding around, prioritizing the informations and getting there some warning or critical levels for system monitoring, get our alarms and escalations. And so we get know that there's going something wrong or that there will go something wrong at that point. On the other side, the people call the help desk. We're recording all these things in tickets, and we are doing the best to get the service back. So Business services are about, on the one hand, the business processes. That's the world where our users, our customers working in, they know what they do with their tools and with their services. And I think they don't need to have any knowledge about the real technologies, about the things which going around in the IT department. And to connect these two things, the business processes and the technologies, we're using something called a business service. It's defined as IT, sorry, not IT-focused business service, that's wrong. It's defined as business-focused IT service. And that's what's really matter out there. It's not about emailing, it's not about CRM or whatever. It's about printing delivery notes. It's about scheduling meetings or whatever you do in a business. And just let us imagine you're responsible in a company, you have a new job, you're responsible for the IT department, that everything is going around and everything is going good, and you're in the first weeks and you try to get along with all the new informations, and you get an email from one of your colleagues from the IT department. Within this email, you get an error message, and well, now what do you know? Not really anything about this error message. You talk to the specialist who sent you this mail and the error message, and he shows you, well, this kernel ETH0 table space transceiver problem. Okay, that's the error message, but what do you really know now? From my point of perspective, you don't know anything further at this moment. So what you need is some little magic who shows you the impact of this little error message on all your IT equipment, on all your IT services, and of course on all your business services, and so for your business processes within your company. So you have to go to the error message. You see there's a relation to the database. You see this database is needed for the SHP server, and on this SHP server there is the customer relationship management system, and therefore are your sales and logistics processes. And from this error message, the export sales process is affected. And now you have a lot more information. You know what's going wrong. That's a real important information. But you also know who is affected by this error message. And so you can directly communicate to the people. You can look after the underlying SLAs to see when does it have to be fixed, and so on. And you know a little much more than before from the little error message. And that is why we are doing business service management. Business service management is about the user perspective. It's about printing delivery notes, printing, sorry, I don't know the English word actually, printing invoices. Yeah, it was a backup at that point. So it's about the processes the people who are using the IT services are doing all the day. And these services are in the user language, not in IT language. It's not a CRM system. It's writing an offer. It's printing whatever. And that is very important that these business services are in the user language. Because if you're going to a CEO and asking him how long does the ERP system or the email system could be out of order, he will tell you never. Why? Because he don't know what his decision will have effect on the business. If you're going to the CEO and ask him, how long does the company can survive when we are not able to print invoices, he will give you a direct answer, maybe 5 days, 3 days, 2 weeks, 1 month, whatever. You will have solid answer from the CEO, and between it has to be available all day, and it could be out of order for 5 days. There are a project with a couple of zeros before the comma, and you can save a lot of money at that point. And so you have you have the ability to talk in his language and to get real decisions on investments, on service levels, on whatever you need for dealing with IT equipment. And the third step is to use user metrics, and that is the most compelling thing here at that point, and it is the most difficult thing at that point. Let me give you an example. When you have a web shop, you can measure how long does it take from going to the website, searching for a book or whatever, take it into the basket, go to checkout, and to order this book. You can measure each step, you can measure the whole cycle at that point. And this is a very interesting metrics for the people who are responsible for this web shop, because availability has to do with response time, has to do with the agility of the website. And when I try to order something online and the web shop is slow, I go to another web shop. So at that point, it's very easy to find user metrics, but to be honest, most of the cases, it is very different to find user metrics, and that is why what ITSM Guidance tells you: talk to the customer, talk to the people who are dealing with the process at that point, and you will get mostly user metrics which can be measured and where the SLAs can be based on. So, different view of the philosophy business service management. On the upper side, you have your business processes, you have your sub-processes with maybe IT relation, and upwards you have the IT assets. And you have to cut down the processes in single steps, in sub-processes, which could have direct connections to IT systems, to IT services, to applications. So you can say for track clearance, you need server A, you need server B, and for delivery note printing, you need server C and server D. And so it will have service tree or an impact diagram here on that point where you can directly see which dependencies are within IT and to the business processes. And if you are able to underline these with live status informations, you have a point to record the availability of these services, and you have the point to have alarms on the services, and you, of course, you can make your SLA reports on this level. And this should be the aim, to have service levels on a business service perspective, because this is the only level where you can talk to your customers, to your internal or external customers, because this is a world both are understanding at the point. So it is really important to have this holistic view in the complete IT management. It doesn't matter if it is monitoring, it is a service desk, or if it is reporting or change processes or whatever. You have to focus on these business services to get real consumer-focused IT services or business-focused IT management at that point. And that is very important, and it is, I think, the only way where IT departments will fund money in the future. They don't get money for deploying technology, IT. They get money to support the business to run the real business production at that site. So, in my point of view, there is a very important thing within business service management. The base for all this should be a centralized configuration management database, configuration management system, or service database, or whatever. There should be a central system where all the informations are collected, or of course displayed, not all in one database, where you have your monitoring information, your service desk information, your information which tickets are coupled to which business services, and therefore you have your business service management layer, and you have the ability to report on this basis. Nevertheless, if it is availability SLA, or if there's a first solution rate SLA for the service desk, and this is very important. And if we have a look at such business service, which attributes this service could have, for instance, let's take invoice printing. It has, of course, the use components, which are the underlying IT services, applications, and IT systems. It has the responsible people within the company, responsible from a service perspective, responsible from the consumer perspective. You have your service level, of course, and you have the users are using this invoice printing. And at this point, give me another example. When you have an outage on invoice printing, you don't need to inform the whole company that today invoice printing is not available. You just have to inform the users which are related to the service. And you are in the great pleasure not to tell them print server 707 is not available today. You will tell them invoice printing isn't available today, so they have a direct link to their work, and you won't have even so much support calls for not printing invoices. Well, and that is the way I think we could generate a very little bit of wisdom in IT service management when we are using this business service management, when we are building our reporting on this business service management philosophy. And why to do that? It's on the one hand, focused to the consumer, of course, but if you are using business service management, you can save up to 20% of your operating costs. And when I imagine in a normal IT department, there are 80% of their budget or operating costs, it's a very large number you can save just doing it on a consumer-focused way. Well, it's sometimes quite not easy to get there. So how can we save that? Well, with a monitoring, with a proactive monitoring, which is underlying on that to have the real status of such business service, you will avoid failures. You will see something which is going wrong, and you will fix it before it comes an incident. Therefore, you will reduce downtime. And you will reduce downtime because when somebody's calling the help desk and says, I'm not able to print, the service desk clerk asking, what do you want to print? Invoice. And afterwards you go to the CMDB, look after invoice printing, and with the service tree you see which are where the failure comes from. And so you're reducing downtime because you have an impact analysis very, very quick. Therefore, you get less tickets and less escalations. When you tell them invoice printing is not available today, they won't call the help just because they can't print invoices. And so you will get less tickets, less escalations, and you are able to have a real proactive problem management because you can focus on the business side of the problems and not the IT side of the problems. And when you see that something really important for your company is regularly going wrong, you can focus on that and not on services which can be unavailable for a week, 2 weeks or so. On planning processes, for instance, change process, you will be much faster. If you can take the service tree, take, for instance, one switch, you will see every piece of IT and every business process which is connected to this distinct switch. And so you get everybody on board who is affected by the change, and you will find all this information much faster. From my point of experience, there are a lot of failures after changes because they are not well planned. And with a well planning, you will have less failures. And therefore, with less failures, less tickets, better communication, better availability, you will have a higher user satisfaction, and so the users will praise you, and of course you will find information. You will not search for these informations. And these are the 8 reasons why you can save up to 20% of the operating costs. So that's the theory, and I just want to show you something as an example. How can this business service management be implemented? I agree with Ray, who told us it's not about the tools, it's about the processes and the user. But from time to time, it's needed to have the tools in place, because if you want to have real short informations, your information in short time, you need tools. You don't need an Excel sheet to find the invoice printing service under maybe 100, 200 business service. You just need a tool who gives you the visualization of this information and give you the way to analyze the information very fast. I already started the application, and I have an incident, I have an issue. I didn't manage to get the application work in English language, so please bear with me. It's today only in German, but the application is available, of course, as English localized version. So what I have here is an overview of a company with some satellites all over Europe, and I see an status of all my IT equipment, and I see here in Dresden, it's something really goes wrong. I can drill down into this location in Dresden, and I have here a picture of my server room, and I see this server. There's a lot of things going on. 14 issues on this server. I can go into the monitoring informations, and you see, okay, there's really something going on with the, we call it in Germany, kaufmännischer Prozess. It's, well, CRM, ERP, and whatever this company needs, it's going wrong because it looks like the database is not available at that point. Well, this is something I imagine from the error message I get from the monitoring. But to have the real security, what's going wrong, I'm using the tool here to go to another view of the server. This is my server BPM. Firstly, I see what he needs to get working. There's everything green, and afterwards I go upwards and looking for my business services. Also, the business services actually only in German here in my implementation, because it's my official demo system. And so I have something like invoices, two different invoice processes here. I have my software BPM, and I have 2 business processes here. Delivery net printing and something we call Preisanfrage. It's German. It's about asking our purchase department how many does it cost today. And so I have the impact here on the screen for this outage of the server. The BPM software is affected, and all these business services here are affected too, with different kind of impact. So, and now I want to know, how is the SLA? I go to my properties of these business service, and here I have my SLA, which is in reaction time of 30 minutes, service time 724, and I need to be recovered in 1 hour 30 minutes. So it's definitely clear how long does it take to have this server here up again. So I see who is affected by this. It's our sales in Hamburg, and it's international sales. I have my local contact persons here. I can just give an information that this service is today affected by an IT outage. Well, I have my responsible administrator with his telephone number, with his email address. So I have every information in place what I need to go along with this outage. And of course, the responsible administrator has his information too here, with his supplier who holds the service contract, Also, we see serial number, the inventory number, and everything he needs up to his disaster recovery guide for the server directly attached to this object here in our application, which is called SMView. So let's go the other way around. Let's come from the business service. Just here's our ERP process, which writing an offer, which delivery note printing, invoice printing, and everything I need to get a project through our IT, through our processes. And of course, we have a Citrix form here who needs to be used for all these applications. And as we already know, these two business processes are on warning level, and so my ERP process is on the warning level. If I go down, I get the already seen informations here. I see my software BPM, I see my server BPM, and what I see too is all my infrastructures here. And at that point of view, there is a method which is called Abashi from the APMG, which fit in this methodology of business service management, and you can use the application to build up these Abashi diagrams in a more readable way, I think. So, but what we can do at that point, and this is very interesting, is we can go to the real world environment. And the real world shows me, okay, my Citrix farm is about 5 servers, and I have a virtualization farm about 5 servers with 2 data centers. And let's go in detail at that point. In each of the data center, no, not actually, we have 2 servers in one data center and 3 servers in the second data center. And what we see is he calculates the business service here, or to be honest, it's an IT service at that point. It's green, it's available, but one server is not available at that point. And that is what this business service logic here is doing. He calculates depending on the logic which is configured to the real world experience. So actually there are at least 2 servers have to be available. I will alter this to all have to be available. And if I'm a little bit patient, I will see the effect on the business service. The business service goes red, of course. Virtualization is red, Citrix form is red, ERP process is red at this point. So, and this outage is recorded for SLA reporting. And therefore, it's a very cute possibility to measure the SLA on a business service or IT service level, how they are really experienced out of the IT, because virtualization is built because of high availability. And the administrator is informed that here's something going wrong, but the service at this site is available all over, and the IT production and so the business production is going on at that point. Well, that was a short trip to business service management, a short trip to the application I've shown you, on how we can implement business service management to the real world. And I'm very confident that business service management or ITSM Gardeners or Abashi are the same direction, and they are focused on the end user, on the customer, and on the business processes. And that is the way IT has to be managed in the future. Sorry, not in the future. It has to be managed so in today. And that is very important. And what we are providing is, of course, a consulting on that point, mainly in German-speaking Europe. And we are also providing application, which is called SMView and SMBox, who are dealing with these processes and who are dealing with this philosophy of business service management. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, just give me an email, robert.sieber@shd-online.de, or go to LinkedIn. You will find my profile. And if you want a trail version of what you have seen, go to www www.systemmonitoring.de. So, hopefully, I'll be on time, Mark.
You are more than on time, my friend. That is excellent. Yeah, because we certainly wanted a little bit of time to spend discussing some stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
Just for our live audience, we'll be closing down this broadcast at 1:45 at the latest. A couple of things that I thought about. It was interesting, by the way, that you mentioned Obashi, because that's been coming up from time to time.
Well, I had my first impression of Obashi during the process of the selection of the speakers for TFT13. And I find it really interesting what I read in the, I'm not sure whose was, in the abstract, and I bought the book from APMG and I read it in one flight. And it's really interesting and it fits totally into our approach of business service management. That's great.
Yeah, and I'm going to take you up on your use of the term business service management. I think you've explained exactly what you want, what you mean by it, by emphasizing that it's business focused.
Yeah.
IT service management. What I did, I've just checked the formal ITIL definitions of both business for our audience, in case they're confused about what's what. Business service management and IT service management. Business service management, the management of business services delivered to business customers. Business service management is performed by business units.
Okay.
So the ITIL definition is, stuff that regular businesses do for their customers. It doesn't have to have anything to do with IT. And then IT service management, the implementation and management of quality IT services that meet the needs of the business. So really, I think if you do IT service management well, emphasizing quality IT services that meet the needs of the business, then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, are you talking about IT services in this kind of terminology or business services?
Well, both. It depends. I'm consultant. I have to say it depends. So, a business service doesn't need any IT. For instance, a business service can run on some production equipment.
Sure.
But today you have business services who have IT, and you have business. The same business service has production environment and whatever at that point. And so we are talking about the business perspective at that point. And to be honest, I'm not very satisfied with the definition at the ITIL books, because there is a diversion between business and IT, and there won't be any from my point of view. If there's something going wrong with IT, business is going wrong, so you won't have a real business demand side, you won't be a supplier side, it's IT business from my point of view and from my experiences. So
yeah, well, certainly there's a lot of convergence going on, and they're very closely interrelated. It depends on which kind of perspective you take, I think, whether you take an IT, a technical perspective.
Well, it depends also on the size of the companies who are dealing with that. If you have a mid-sized company, you won't have a business IT and technical IT.
No,
you have the process group, you have the IT group. Sometimes they are one.
Yeah, and that makes life a lot easier often in smaller organizations.
Sure.
Now you claim a cost-saving advantage, benefits of about 20%, which sounds quite impressive. But what kind of investment do you have to make? Could you mention something about the investment it takes up front initially to get this up and running, and then what it costs in terms of maintenance of the system, For instance, if things change, different kinds of business levels, service levels. Talk about the cost side.
Yeah.
Effort.
So the majority of the cost is not in a tool or whatever. It's in the people who are discussing about the connection from business to IT, and in having a real good working change management process in place afterwards. So we start project with 2 or 3 most important processes at the customer sites, and we are coming from the process level going down to the IT level. And so you really get you get shortly an advantage of doing this for these processes, because what you need are the process guys, you need the IT guys, IT architects, you need the people who work with the processes so they really know how they are going wrong, or they're going on at that point. And these are the most investment at that point. And the tool set for mid-sized companies, something about 20,000-30,000 euro plus maintenance yearly. It's not quite big at that point. It's really the investment in the people and getting things documented, and of course not documented in Excel or PowerPoint or Visio, which is not able to live, documented in a system which can be really well managed and very shortly managed.
Yeah, and I imagine that you also face the challenge that other kind of systems like this have. You spend a lot of time documenting stuff.
Yeah.
But after that, of course, the documentation has to be kept up to date.
Sure.
Which is, I think, a question more of a mindset and discipline of the people who have to be convinced of the value of it. Otherwise, they'll very enthusiastically build the system, create it, but after that, it sort of slowly goes downhill.
Well, you're fully right. Therefore, it is very important to have only the needed information in place. So decide very early which information do you need to do your IT services or your business services point.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah.
And the second point is automate as many as possible. So you have in your company mainly systems in place which are used by other departments where they do, I don't know sorry, I'm missing a word in English. So they have their data, so they enter the data at that point and you just consume this data. So consume it and not hold it on your own. That's another point for automation of the data. And of course, when you have all your IT management systems for the hardware, the software, monitoring, IT service management, automate things. If you get a new server, automate the monitoring, administration, automate the CMDB, and so you will have less efforts to document the things ongoing.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I've just had a directive that we've got to wrap it up now, because we're moving on to a very exciting part of the TFT13 conference. We're now moving to the live section. Rob England, the IT skeptic, is on next, and we need a little time to do some technical changeover stuff. So, with my compliments for your very typically German thoroughness, your presentation, it was very excellent. And I hope you didn't suffer too much either from the nervousness or the hot weather.
I think the main challenging was the hot weather and seeing nobody out here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, isn't it?
Sure.
Thank you on behalf of all of the crew here. Thank you so much for contributing.
Yeah, Mark, it was a pleasure for me. Thank you very much for being the host today.
Yeah, great fun. Great. We're now going off the air. Thanks, but just hold on for a minute until you see the on air turn to off air.
Okay.
Then we're gone.
Introducing My IT from BMC Software. One quick download and the way your users think about IT changes forever. Let's say they need a networked printer, or a Wi-Fi connection, or even a map of an office they're visiting. My IT already knows where they are and shows them a list of available resources and services pre-configured for their devices. Or maybe your user needs help with something more complex. With My IT, they can do most things themselves. But if they can't, they can simply schedule an appointment with a technician who can. In short, My IT is built to make your IT organization more modern and your users infinitely happier, dramatically changing the perception of your services